focusing on our rich history in the community, celebrating the people and events that make this the great place we call home. Wave 3 presents Wave Country with Dawn G.
A big hello, Wave Country. Thank you, as always, for joining us here for this next hour. You know, I've said this over and over again, but the word for last year and this year is pivot. And folks are learning how to get things done, even though things are so very different right now. Today, we are going to have a wonderful show, very busy show, so just hang on because we've got a lot to get in. My guest today is the Catholic Education Foundation. They are saluting the Catholic School Alumni fundraising event, and again, with everything being so different, what do you do? What do you do? Well, you just get it done. You find a way, and that's what our community has done. So let me introduce my guests that are with me right now. We're going to have a lot of guests on today. Richard Lecklider, who is here. Richard, I'm glad to see you, along with Most Reverend Joseph E. Kurtz, the Archbishop of Louisville. Archbishop, I'm always so glad to see you. I appreciate the wonderful things that you do for this community. And also joining us, Kimberly Hallbauer, who is president of Fifth Third Bank of Kentucky. To all of you, I thank you for making this community the wonderful community that it is. Archbishop Kurtz, we're going to start with you. You know, this past year and this year as well, it has been a little overwhelming for so many people, and we're going to talk about the wonderful things that the Catholic Education Foundation does, and we're going to salute these fabulous people in our community. But could you just bless us with a few words of wisdom, especially for those that are just finding it very hard to get through things?
Dawn, thank you for allowing me to say something. The first thing I have to say is let's acknowledge those who have become victims of COVID-19, those who have died, those who have suffered and have recovered, and then the scores of people who have been affected, family and friends. Our hearts go out to people. When I had my most recent meeting with our priest council, I said, well, what's the first thing we should do with pastoral hearts? And they said, we need to remember those who have died. We need to gather people together for that purpose. So I think the first thing I have to say is let's pray for and acknowledge those who have suffered mightily through this time. I think the second thing I have to say is this has also been, ironically, a time of great creativity. We're talking to people over the internet and other places that we never dreamed of doing a year ago. And so I hope that your program today, besides promoting our Catholic Education Foundation, will be a way of reaching out to all people in our community, both to mourn those who have suffered, but also to revitalize and to be creative in our way that we return to the new normal, which I think is going to be a very good normal that we're returning to. Mm-hmm.
Archbishop Kurtz, I appreciate you so much, your love, your kindness, and your care for this community. So, Richard, the Archbishop just made just like a great point there, that everybody's doing things differently. We're finding a way. Right now, you would have been doing at this time of the year, celebrating what folks are doing in the community with the Catholic Education Foundation, and pandemic, have to do it differently, but you all did not stop. Talk about what the foundation does and why this is so important today.
Yeah, Dawn, thanks again for having us on your show. We really, really appreciate this. It's a special opportunity for us. Look, at the foundation, it's pretty simple what we do. We raise money around the broader community in central Kentucky to help families who want their child to go to a Catholic school but can't afford it. And by the grace of God, last fall, we helped 3,350 kids.
Wow.
With $6.5 million of funding. Those are both all-time records. So this community, even in a pandemic, has risen up in such a big way to help our families in need. As you can imagine, during the pandemic, the need exploded. So we were able to meet that need, and we're God blessed for that. Thank you.
Well, again, the Archbishop just said, you know, you find a way, you do it creatively, you do it differently. It's funny, though, your slogan is what?
The answer is yes. That's homegrown, by the way. We didn't pay anybody to do that. Yeah, that's kind of the answer is yes is really important in two ways. One, it's an invitation to families who never thought their kid could go to a Catholic school. And we basically say, reach out to us. And the answer is yes. And the second thing it is for all of us, to our donor base and to our broader community, is this is kind of a mandate for us to adopt and say, you know what, we're going to raise enough money so that every single kid that knocks on our door gets the answer is yes. And again, by the grace of God, over the last 6 consecutive years, every single kid that came to the Catholic Education Foundation and qualified for assistance, in fact, earned an award, which is, in my mind, a miracle.
Yeah, that is wonderful. Sometimes you can't say yes if you don't have all those wonderful people backing you up. Kimberly Hallbeyer, I know that's when you come in. And again, Fifth Third Bank, though, it's a local bank. You care about this community. You do a lot of things. This is not the only thing that you do, but talk about why you all have joined this efforts and some of the things that you do in our city.
Thanks, Dawn. And I can say that Fifth Third Bank has been a part of this effort long before me. Our founding father, Jim Gaunt, was the originator of being the first supporter of this event. And certainly it's something steeped in tradition that we've continued on now for, I think, Rich, what, maybe 27 years?
Correct.
27 years.
Wow.
So really impressive to be a part of something that not only has, that started 27 years ago by many visionary people, but also something that has continued to thrive, excel, and grow, and create an impact on the community.
Just really quickly, before we start the next part of our program here, can you talk to other businesses? I have a nonprofit. My money for my nonprofit is at Fifth Third Bank.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, because it's local and that's important, but we need businesses who can help to help.
Yes, and you know what, I think that when you look at the impact of what we're all trying to do, it's to create a broader work stream in our future. And where does that start? But fundamentally, it starts with education. And the results that have been seen through education, through Catholic education and beyond, have been phenomenal. So investing in a program that helps us achieve for our communities, for our state, and for our children, an impact is phenomenal. So I can't imagine reasons. I love the campaign slogan, say yes. So I would say to the businesses, say yes.
All right. I know that Kimberly and Richard are going to be here. Archbishop, I appreciate you for joining us as we kick this off. We're going to have to take a break here. Do you want to leave us with anything else that you'd like to say, Archbishop, before we go to this break?
Well, thanks, Dawn. I think I would say, first of all, the salute is about raising up heroes. So we're going to be honoring people, and you'll hear more about it, who are heroes in our community, in their families, and in our church. And then secondly, our people are so supportive because we're not supporting buildings. We're supporting students. We're supporting young people as well as their families, as Rich said earlier and Kimberly said just a minute ago. So I'm just grateful to be part of this, and you can see I'm one of the cheerleaders.
All right. Well, we thank you, and we appreciate the work that you're doing. We're going to come back and introduce you to some of those wonderful folks who have been working so hard for this community. Stay with us. We'll be right back. We today are just celebrating some wonderful folks in our community. Usually it'd be done with a big luncheon and everything, but you still have to celebrate the Catholic Education Foundation with us today, and we're so glad about that. But the honorees this year are here with me today. Salute honoree Elizabeth C. Arnett. Betty, it is so good to see you. And then I get tickled with honoree L. Russell Reed, because when you came in, everybody's like, wait a minute, he's part of the Wave 3 family. You were here with us.
I was back in the late 80s.
Isn't that something?
And it's changed a lot.
Well, it has changed, but it still feels like home, right?
Yes, ma'am, it does.
All right, let's talk about some of the things that you do. Betty, Presentation Academy, you are there were 5 of 9 of the children in your family that were part of the Catholic education?
That is true. As far as presentation, my sisters went to presentation, and my daughter and my nieces went to presentation. And the love for Pres started with my sister, who was given a scholarship from the Sisters of Charity, who would do that each year for any schools where they taught. Then they would choose a scholastic scholar, and it happened to be my sister. And she loved presentations so much that I wanted to go, but I learned about the need for financial aid when I was 14, because I didn't think I was going to get to go to Catholic school. And my brother was a jockey at the time, and he told my parents that he would pay for my tuition. So he sent money home each month for me to attend presentations. So I have felt very fortunate to get to attend that academy, and I've been very devoted to them from that time on.
Well, I have to say, there were some presentation young women who helped me pass the cash and just did some unbelievable things to watch their giving and the things that they did. But presentation, not only important to you as a student, but you were also a Catholic school teacher.
Yes, I was. That's what I wanted to do more than anything, was to teach. In fact, my mother said that I had 5 years experience before I taught, because I took every child in the neighborhood and taught them in the garage. And so I taught at Guardian Angel for the primary grades, and I enjoyed that so very much, the phonics that the children could learn to read. And then I carried that through even teaching illiterate adults with the experience that I got from teaching phonics in Catholic school.
Well, Betty, I have to tell you, I tell my daughter this and my mother, both in the school system, it takes a special heart and soul to be a teacher. And so we thank you. Okay, so Russell, you're part of the Wave 3 family. You're part of broadcasting and television for years and years and years to come. But Trinity High School, and when you say Trinity High School, back up, because it's going to be a roar. You all have people that are just totally faithful to that school and to that style of education. Talk about why that's important to you.
Yeah, I was so fortunate to be able to go to Catholic schools from K all the way up through grad school. And Trinity was by far one of the best experiences in my life. There is a true brotherhood, like you said. And I could call on anybody I wanted to today from Trinity to help me do anything I needed to do, and they would be there right by my side. So, you know, the nice thing about the Catholic education, you get a lot of good book learning, as you're supposed to be. All schools do that, but we get more than that. We get a curriculum of spirituality, of care, of kindness, and willingness to help people. It was truly a good thing to do for me.
Well, you talked about being in the Catholic tradition all the way throughout your education, and that has led to you being who you are. Tell us about Beacon House. I don't want to let you go without talking about the work that you do there.
Dawn, I absolutely loved my career in broadcasting. It was fun, it was interesting, but I think now my career is going to be in helping people, and I'm very fortunate to be able to work with men who are struggling with addiction, who are in long-term recovery. The Beacon House is a transition house, and the reason we call it a transition house is because we help these guys make a transition from late treatment and late recovery into a self-directed life on their own, and it's very gratifying. And quite frankly, I can tell from the alumni that come back to the house, and that leave the house, that we're doing a pretty good job. Addiction is a disease, and we try to treat that disease, and we treat it over the entire continuum of care, all the way from detoxification all the way to where you walk out of our gates at the Beacon House and go on life's terms, as they say.
Well, I just want to say to you, Betty, and also Russell, that we thank you for the work that you do in the community and all that you give. And I know things have been different in this pandemic, but you are still saluted. So thank you.
Thank you, Dawn.
Thank you, Dawn.
We're going to take a quick break and we'll come back with more of this celebration. So stay with us. Big, huge thank you to Fifth Third Bank for being the sponsor of today's event, saluting Catholic school alumni fundraising event that's generally done with a wonderful luncheon and all that, but we have learned to pivot in this pandemic and keep things going for our community. Again, Richard Lecklider, president of the Catholic Education Foundation of Louisville, with me, along with an honoree. We have Randall J. Buford. We are so glad to see you, founder and chairman of the board of Trilogy Health Services, with the Community Service Award. How important is this to you, Randall?
Well, I think it's a lot. It's about giving back, and we're not about awards typically around our shop. And so when Rich called me and said, "Hey, your name has come up, and we'd like to honor you for giving," I said, "Well, Rich, it's a family thing at Trilogy, and it's a family thing at home with Susan and I, and wanting to give back to others. And it's one of our core values, first with our faith, but also around our Trilogy family. So, it was unfortunate we couldn't get it done last year, but as you said in the opening, with the pandemic, we've learned how to adapt, and certainly we're excited to be here today. So thank you very much."
It's always good to have a successful business, but then to see what you and your wife, Susan, have done with it. You have the Trilogy Foundation. You've got the Buford Family Foundation. I mean, you try to take care of the community the best that you can. You don't have to do that, but you do.
It's the right thing to do, and you told me to jump in earlier, so I'm going to give a little love to our family. It's the Buford Family Foundation, and a lot of people, first-timers, do that. And also, if you call me Randall, I'm usually in trouble.
Well, that's so funny. You're not
in
trouble today, and I did tell you, don't let me mess up your name, because I will.
Funny.
Buford, what is that?
That's the Buford Family Foundation.
I mean, but is it German? What is that?
Actually, it's from the UK. It's British.
Okay, all right.
And so forth. But anyway, we're excited to be here. And you were just asking about the importance of giving to our family. Mm-hmm. And I think it started for us in lots of different areas. Of course, it continued into the business, but it started first with the reason why we're here today is faith. And we've always been a giver about that. And as our blessings came about, we saw lots of opportunities. And first and foremost, I guess with your head down in your business at Trilogy, when we first started, we found ourselves informally helping our employees out. And we realized very early on as we were growing that, we were working with a group of employees that were in need. And they were in need in a couple different ways around our foundation. So we set up the Trilogy Foundation with that idea with two things in mind. And the first is one I think people think about a lot of times is when somebody's in need of desperation. Maybe there's a problem or something in the family that they're coming up short and they need some financial or emotional assistance. So we clearly identified that. The second area that we've done tremendous work, and actually the bulk of our work and investment, is in the times of inspiration. And around our shop, we define that as when people want to invest in themselves, whether they want to do exactly like what's happening here with the Catholic Education Foundation. They want to continue their schooling. They may just need help paying off student loans, or they want to take apprenticeships. Maybe they want to upgrade their skill set. What our foundation's designed to do is to provide capital to make that happen. And we just found that it was a true blessing. So we started giving among ourselves. And then we did another thing. We said, well, listen, this is working great. What if we all gave? And so we have nearly 15,000 employees, and we have
wow.
12,000 employees today who are giving to their foundation. And so it's like Trilogy. You know, when we started, it was just a vision of a couple people. But today, our foundation is a vision of all 15,000 employees. And we're really excited about that. And then as life continued on, we were blessed personally. And that's when we decided, Susan and I, to start the Bufford Family Foundation. So we're excited to serve in several different ways.
I just want to say thank you on behalf of the community. And Richard, you hear him talking about everybody jumping in. And I mean, you all have set a record just about every year, I think, for what you are able to collect with the foundation. And I know this has been the craziest year ever, ever. Did you all break that record again?
We did, Dawn. Thanks for asking. I want to tell the community I'm so thrilled that through this event today, we're going to net a record $1.3 million for our Catholic school kids across Central Kentucky.
You all can clap. Did you hear?
Absolutely.
We got people in the studio today. That is unbelievable. Okay, I'm not going to be able to let you go, Randall, if I don't talk about this in the middle of March Madness, okay? Because this is huge. 1980 national champion U of L team. You were part of that team. And again, we're right in the middle of basketball season, although it doesn't feel like it normally does. What's the highlights of that when you think about that?
Well, I think first and foremost, 41 years ago, by the way, tonight, March 24th, 1980.
Is that right?
Absolutely. So we're I'm sure across, and the team is really close. We have a group text. I'm sure there'll be some texting going on. But, you know, besides the phenomenal athletes that were part of that team and the great coaches, the people. The people were just absolutely fabulous. That's why they won the national championship. And I was a basketball manager. I wasn't a player. I wasn't a student athlete. But they always made me feel like one of the team. And I think that's the important thing about community, about whether you're giving back, about the great work Rich and the foundation does is, you know, everybody can serve, everybody can be involved. And so, again, fun times, boy, cutting those nets down and enjoying that ride back to Louisville. And, you know,
I remember so well watching it all. Yeah, that's exciting. Well, we thank you for that. Go Cards, absolutely. Yeah. The Catholic Education Foundation, we are saluting and celebrating some of the best in our community today. So we'll be back with more. Stay with us. We're going to take a quick break. We are so proud to be with the Catholic Education Foundation and all the wonderful things that they do, the people that they are honoring right now. Everything has just been so different in this last year. But when people work to make this community better, you salute and celebrate them. I am not Catholic, but I am part of the Wave Country family because I was born and raised here. And so it's not about that. It is about good people doing very good work. And I just want to welcome our next guest, Honoree F. Louiva Moss, with us today. Thank you for being here. And also James J. Kirchdorfer. I'm not going to call you James, just like they said, it sounds like you're in trouble. I'll call you Jimmy, so I'll get it right this time. We'll start with you, Miss Louiva. It is so good to see you here. You went to St. Monica Catholic School. That's in Lebanon, Kentucky, right?
Correct.
How important was that to you? What do you remember?
Thank you, Dawn. For me, being raised in rural Kentucky, in Lebanon, and educated by the Sisters of Loretto, coming from a staunch Catholic family, an extended family, it helped me be the woman and mother that I am today. It becomes part of your DNA. It's the foundation that makes your life what it is.
Well, you know, we have realized, although some of us certainly learned this lesson long time ago, you were a nurse. You pursued a career in nursing, and boy, nurses and doctors and healthcare workers have been on the front line doing so much before. You've gotten many awards before. This is not the first time. And you work hard in your community. Tell me about some of the things you wish you could see us do and some of the things that you're doing in the Shawnee neighborhood.
Well, presently, having retired and having been blessed over the years to have had the opportunities to serve in many areas of nursing and health education. But I've always been felt called to, along with my faith formation activities and volunteerism that I've done over the years, I've also felt a need to help people to understand preventive health. What I had always seen in our community was people went to the doctor or they went for care when they had symptoms. And when you look at our morbidity and mortality rates, particularly in census tract 11 and 12, which is basically West Louisville, you will see that a lot of it is because we don't have the knowledge or the education or the understanding how important it is. So that's where I am now. I'm helped to be one of the founding members of the present Shawnee Christian Healthcare Center. They're on Amy Avenue, and remain active with the Shawnee Neighborhood Association, which I'm also one of the foundings of revamping and re-getting that started back up about 12, 15 years ago. So it's just, like I said, it's my DNA. In my faith formation with the Office of Multicultural Ministries here in the Archdiocese of Louisville, volunteering for that, but I'm very, very active and concerned about the longevity and the vitality of my community.
Well, we thank you for that. You know, here in Kentucky, we got to serve everything with a biscuit, and then we got to fry it. So we don't always do what we should. Jimmy, now I said Trinity. Same thing happens with St. X High School for you. When you say that name, big roar, everything kind of goes crazy. And again, it's part of that brotherhood and kind of how you all stand together and stand for the community. You played golf,
yes,
right? Okay, and you were just talking to me. We both have a love of one of the programs down at Shawnee Golf program there. Talk about why that's important to you and what this award means, being honored today.
Yeah, well, thanks, Dawn. Yeah, it was great. I remember seeing you at the First Tee event down at Shawnee, and that's been great. I was fortunate. My father put a golf club in my hand at a very young age, and it taught a lot of life lessons, and I was able to play, you know, at St. X and so forth. And now I get to play a lot with my son, who plays for University of Kentucky. But I'm happy the First Tee does some great work down there of what they're doing, teaching those life lessons, and glad to help support that. And there's some other organizations locally that's really supporting golf. And we were able to, another one, the Youth on Course Foundation was able to help a lot of kids play golf during this pandemic for just $5. And we had a foundation that supplemented the cost of that. So there were over 7,000 rounds of golf played. So that's been very important to me, and I'm glad to participate in that.
You talk about your dad putting that golf club in your hand, and a lot of times, you know, not every child has family. ISCO Industries, that is your family's company, again, built by family. And there you are with the golf club there. That started as a hardware company, did it not? And then I was just looking at what your family has grown to today. Unbelievable, the work that you all are doing.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Yeah, it started on Baxter Avenue. My grandfather has a hardware store. Then my father changed it quite a bit. My brother and I got involved, bought it about 25 years ago, and have expanded quite a bit in approximately 500 team members worldwide working in the company. But we're proud to call Louisville our home, and it excites me when I see us do some things here in Louisville or make some product or some pipe fittings and ship those around the world, that the good Louisville people are creating things that are solving problems worldwide.
Business First naming you one of the most admired CEOs here in the city. And when I thought about that, they say, you know, when somebody is at work, if you recognize them, they'll work harder than you can ever pay them for. And that talks about the community too. When we help each other, then everybody jumps in and gives more than they need to do. What do you want to say about people being kind to each other and helping and doing what you can?
Yeah, I'm honored to get this recognition. And at our company, I believe strongly in a recognition culture. And people give us their careers and come to work at our company, and we take every chance we can to recognize people. We have a lot of awards, a lot of monthly ways of recognizing each other and the great things happening. One of the things I'm most proud is we have an ISCO Hall of Fame, and we bring people back after their careers and they've retired, and we bring them back and honor them in front of the entire company and enshrine them into the ISCO Hall of Fame. And I think a recognition culture is important for businesses, and also what we're doing, what Rich is doing here. And really, there's so many people out there that need to be recognized for what they're doing.
All right, we are running out of time here, but Miss Louisa, getting to know what you need to do and helping people to be able to do what they need to do, we all kind of need to jump into that, don't you think?
I sure do. And that's where we are in Shawnee community, and within our church community also, is to be aware, to help people to be engaged, to be knowledgeable, and to empower. That's one of our biggest avenues now, is to empower people to be responsible for their health and for their general well-being.
All right, and I hear you say that you're retired, but I also hear you say everything that you're doing. So, yeah, we know what retired means. So.
Even with the pandemic,
yeah.
I'm zoomed out right now, but we are continuing to get things done and to be engaged.
Thank you. We appreciate that. All right, we are meeting some wonderful people in our community today, and we thank you for watching. We're going to come back and meet more, so stay with us. It is the Father Joseph McGee Award. We thank Norton Healthcare for being the sponsor of that. We have our wonderful honorees. We also have the president of the Catholic Education Foundation. So let's give a salute to honoree Dr. Lisa C. Wieland, English instructor, Assumption High School, and this is the Father Joseph McGee Award. Dr. Wieland, I have to say, when I saw English instructor, I thought, just let me make sure I put all my verbs and tenses together in the correct way today. How excited are you about this? Outstanding Catholic educator and everything that you have done for this community?
Oh my gosh, I was so stunned, speechless, which if anybody knows me knows never happens. When I found that I won this, it's a huge, huge honor, and so many people have been there along my whole career to make that possible for me. So I'm very, very grateful.
Well, you know, it's so funny because of the pandemic. Everybody truly understands how important teachers are when you have to deal with your own child, and that child has to stay and learn at home. How important has your educational career been to you?
Well, it's kind of everything. I was growing up in the Bible Belt. I didn't get a chance to experience Catholic education until I went off to college, and then that was it for me. And by the time I finished my degree, I knew that I wanted to stay in a place that educated the whole person. That was really, really important to me, and so it's just been my whole life.
Well, I have to mention Assumption High School, certainly, because you all have a lot of pride in your schools. Talk about Assumption.
Well, I love it. I came there in 2003, and I've had so many people so supportive. I'm now in this unique position of getting to speak to it as a parent because my daughter graduated from Assumption in 2018, so I've got this dual perspective. But I am so impressed with how mission-driven we are as a school, that we always are asking, how does this fit in with our mission? How does this fit in with our mission? And then that just drives everything. And I've been lucky since being there since 2003 to see so many girls go through and go on into their lives and see what I love Luella's comment about it's in her DNA. I love to see how the charism of the Sisters of Mercy is in the DNA of our students when they graduate.
So, Rich, I know that, you know, you got to pick these award winners. How difficult is it to pick the Father McGee Award winner?
It's almost impossible. Are you kidding? We've got so many fantastic instructors across 48 Catholic schools in Central Kentucky, and we employ the services of our superintendent and assistant superintendent to kind of bring that together for us. But we always end up with 4 or 5 of the top nominees and really struggle to get there. But you know, Lisa said it best. It's about the whole person, and it's about, particularly for young women, it's about raising them up in this world and teaching them to lead on their own. And Assumption does that in a very exemplary way. We couldn't be more proud of her and Assumption High School.
I got to meet Sister Evie. She is a nun that just had her COVID vaccine. She tickles me, 106 years old.
Wow.
I know, right? She's so unbelievable, but she was talking about growing up in the Catholic school and then deciding, you know, to be a nun. I guess to pick this award, we just gave it to Dr. Whelan, but I guess you start looking for the next Father McGee Award winner starting tomorrow.
Yeah, we do. In fact, if you look at our history of this great award over 30 plus years, we've recognized men and women all over the Diocese of Louisville, well outside of Jefferson County, and we've recognized them at all levels, from kindergarten, elementary, middle school, and high school. So it's a great group of men and women who have changed people's lives forever. We couldn't be more grateful for them.
Dr. Whelan, you said you're seeing it in 2 perspectives now. You yourself as a student, and now your daughter having graduated from Assumption. What would you tell parents, whether it's a young man or a young woman, about trying to make sure they get the best education for their child, and maybe why they would want to look into the Catholic education? What would you say?
Well, it kind of goes back to that whole person. I love that I go to work every day and my faith life and my values are integrated in all the work that I do, and our students know that. Our students graduate knowing what it means to be a woman of mercy. They know what it means to be a leader. They know what it means to be an Assumption alum, and they know that that is beyond just the skills that they've acquired. And of course, the education is excellent. Our students do very well, but it's also the kind of human beings they are. And just to tell a little story, my daughter took a class in her first year of college, and the professor called her over and said, "I'm not from here. I don't know these Catholic grade schools, but these Catholic high schools, but you Assumption kids are different. What is it that you guys," she said, "you all just get it. You just get it." And I love that that was noticeable to someone who didn't have any history with our schools.
Yeah, there's a lot of pride when they're there and when they walk out the door.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, congratulations to you,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Whelan.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate you. We're going to bring up our next honorees coming up in just a bit. Meet them, find out what they do for our community, and continue the celebration. Stay with us. We have been saluting the Catholic Education Foundation and all the fabulous folks that make that work possible. And our last honorees here this afternoon, we have a salute to Reverend Joseph T. Graffis, or Father Joe, as everybody affectionately calls you, and also a salute to Laura M. Schwab. Father Joe, we're going to start with you. Has it been 50 years?
In May, unfortunately.
Don't say unfortunately. That's a blessing.
Thank you.
When you look at that 50 years, what stands out in this vocation that you have chosen? Well, I was going to say chosen for yourself, but if you're a father, then that means the good Lord tapped you and told you what you were going to do. What stands out in those 50 years for you?
Well, I think it's interesting that over 50 years, what I entered the seminary in 1959 as a 14-year-old and what it was by 71 versus 91 versus 2021 has vastly changed. And yet the Ascension, there's my mom, thank good to see. I think the diversity, it's interesting, over 50 years I've been in all different kinds of parishes. I've been with poor people and homeless people. I've been with well-to-do people. I've been in East End, South End, West End, rural areas. I've worked with the Hispanic communities. I've dealt with African American communities. Just the diversity of God's people that I've been privileged to serve. And it never gets boring, let me tell you that.
I can only imagine. So you say it never gets boring, but what's the question do you think you most get as a priest? What do folks most want to know?
Oh gosh, that's a good question. It's diverse, but you know, Father, can I do this? Whatever it is, probably. I guess that's part of my moral theology background too, but people will like, are we permitted to do this? Are we permitted to do that? And all different kinds of things. Or how do I deal with this? Whether it's kids, of course, the kindergartners are always the ones that ask the great questions.
They're the most honest out of the bunch, right?
But the college students were also very good at that too.
Yeah, you did a little bit of television. You were in our realm a little bit, right?
Well, I've been on the moral side of the news for 35 years, I guess.
That's a long time.
And with the Crusade for Children, which is related to the moral side of the news. So your sister station. So it's been interesting how that television ministry works with, and how many people are really watching when I think, gosh, they can't possibly be watching at that time or whatnot.
Yeah,
but
somebody's always watching, Father.
Attention.
You know that.
Amen.
Somebody is always watching. Well, Laura M. Schwab, who is here, Sacred Heart Academy. I know how Sacred Heart has a group of young ladies that are together as family and working together in the community. You did academics and athletics in school. Do you ever find that people think if it's a Catholic school, well, they don't have athletics? Do you ever feel like people think that way?
I don't think so. Definitely not in Louisville, Kentucky. That's for sure. Because they know. And then I was fortunate enough to go to the University of Notre Dame, and everyone certainly knows the football team there. And oh gosh, I can't believe you all have all these pictures. Let's bring that one out. Great. Yeah, going to Notre Dame, certainly everyone knows football, and I was fortunate enough to play tennis.
Yeah, well, certainly in college, everybody definitely knows the Catholic powerhouses. But when you're talking about high school, what would you say to a young lady she's like, I don't know. What's it going to do for me as a young lady going into a Catholic school? What would you tell her?
Oh, I mean, my Catholic education has meant absolutely everything to me. And then to play athletics, I think it really gave me direction. Tennis is one of those sports where at first it's all about you. And then when I played for Sacred Heart, to represent not just myself, but to represent such an incredible school, I think it just really changed things for me. And I knew I wanted to play in college tennis and represent a university. So my Catholic education formed who I am. And then to go to Sacred Heart, play on the tennis team. We were lucky enough to win the state championship while I was there, which was some of the highlights of my life.
What has it meant for you? Now you're in the automotive industry, right? Is that, would you say that that's a mostly male-dominated field too? And what did your education do for you there?
I think you put it mildly, Dawn.
Okay, I didn't, I've never been in that industry, but I would just think.
Yeah, no, it's primarily male-dominated. I was previously the president of Aston Martin, and I was one of 2 women to ever hold that position in the automotive industry in the world. And I think my Catholic education formed who I am, my principles, my morals, and how I've taken that into business is what I actually think has really helped me. For me in business, it's never about me, it's about the team. And I learned that through my Catholic education and through sports, of course.
So, Father Joe, when we look at the Catholic schools, how important are Catholic schools, not only, I guess, to the future of the church, but the future of a community?
Well, I think like all education is important. But I think Catholic education, at least from my experience, always grade school, graduate studies at various places, there's not only the spiritual formation, obviously in graduate you get in philosophy and theology, but trying to think critically. I think that's so important today. And as I think Louisa, I forgot who said holistic education, Dr. Lisa probably said that as well, that it's the whole person. How do we develop fully as a person? And I think certainly all the various schools that I went to all did that. And I had some marvelous professors and teachers over the years, from grade school to graduate school, that just taught me values that I've learned so much from.
Well, we appreciate both of you and what you do for this community, Laura and Father Joe. Thank you so much, and congratulations to you both.
Thank you, Dawn, and thanks to the Catholic Education Foundation. The work is so important and so special, and so I'm very honored and humbled to be standing here with this incredible group and with you, Father Joe.
All right.
And we need it so badly.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break and wrap things up when we get back. Stay with us. We appreciate everyone watching today. Rich, we're going to end with you. You know, usually you'd have this big luncheon and all of that. Couldn't do that today, but you didn't want to stop because your work has not stopped. What do you want folks to know as we end today with all these unbelievable nominees and winners?
Well, first of all, Dawn, thanks to you, Ken Salvaggi, everybody here at WAVE for hosting this very, very important event for us. It means everything to our ability to help other people, so thank you. And secondly, if anybody in your audience wants to come aboard and join the Catholic Education Foundation, we would urge you and welcome you to do so. You can reach out to us two ways. One's telephone, 585-2747, or you can reach out at any time on our website, ceflou.org. And we shattered a record today, thanks be to God, at 1.3 million, which is the best ever. And we'd like that number to keep going higher. God bless you.
We thank you. We'll have Wave 3 News at 3 coming up next.